So we're going to talk about confidence bias today. This is something that we've been running into a lot lately.
With myself too, I'll be honest, I screwed up royally, probably at least 3 times in the last 2 weeks. And all of it had to do with confidence bias. And I can dive into what that is. Because what I'm referring to with confidence bias, it actually comes from a book, Thinking Fast and Slow. I think it's Daniel Levitin, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, there's a couple Daniels, but there's different types of things psychologically that happen. And one of those is confidence bias and what that is. But the concept of confidence bias is, you probably heard of overcommitting, things like that. But this is kind of another step into that, which is not just the sake of overcommitting, but it has to do with how your brain works in basically overpromising or assuming things.
Overpromised, right?
Without context, or honestly, even if you were to think it through, there's still an element of bias that happens no matter what you do that ends up affecting the outcome. You know, if it's like, oh, I can merge into traffic, no problem. And all of a sudden you get rear-ended because it took too long and, whatever happened.
Or you overcommit on projects to yourself. Oh yeah, I can get this done by this date. Right? Or, oh yeah, I can do that. So we've been working heads down for the last 2 or 3 weeks. I'm doing a complete restructure.
You can probably see it in our bags and our runways.
A complete restructure of the companies, a complete restructure of how they run, how the meetings run, expectations, KPIs, just a complete restructure. Because what I noticed was, my framework for running the businesses and the things that we were doing did not fit my leadership style. And it was not my style. And I was getting so upset because certain things weren't happening. And why can't people follow this? And, I think there was confidence bias in that, because just because I could do it didn't mean I was biased, right? And I thought that and I love EOS, but I was like, EOS is the greatest thing in the world. And then I couldn't figure out no one was getting their certain things done or rocks done, or why it didn't feel great, or it didn't align, or didn't even allow for collaboration. So we're doing a complete restructure, and I'm trying to remove all the bias actually and give everybody more freedom to work and control time. But we saw this in either overcommitting to ourselves to get things done. We saw this with people overcommitting to things that they were going to get us, whether it was attorneys or accountants. But, confidence bias hurts the relationships we have with people.
Massively, yeah. We talked about Elon Musk a couple weeks ago and his intensity with certain projects. We've really taken that approach now and have dove in hard.
And that's not sustainable though either. No. It's not, so you have to hit it hard and get it done. And the things I'm doing, honestly, I don't know if someone else could have done them. They could have done them, but they would not have come out as fast or as structured. And then you hand it off, and then you take a vacation. And then you see how the process runs.
Yeah.
After you did the 120-hour week. Typically we do it and then we don't take the vacation and we don't see how the process runs without us. And that's why we feel burnt out.
On top of being burnt out.
On top of being burnt out. Yeah. So confidence bias, let's go back to it. But we've noticed this a lot lately.
Yeah.
And, I want Chris, give us some examples.
Okay. So I'll give you a personal example of what I did and what I screwed up on. This was over the break when I say break, I was still working, but over the holidays, that stretch of Christmas to New Year's, had family visit, had my sister, her husband, and 2 kids come. We spent some time at my other sister in Miami, but my one sister lives in Virginia, but she came down. We all hung out together, and then they came over for about 2 days to our house. And I'm trying to remember where specifically. There's a number of different things that happened, but it was just in conversation, in terms of confidence bias, and me just overcommitting to things. Can you give me any examples that you remember specifically? I remember vaguely that there was a ton of things that just in my head I thought were a great idea. And then my other sister, Michelle, in Miami, we were going to go ahead and sell our car, and we're selling our car to my nephew. And what we needed to do was actually teach him how to drive it first.
It's a manual.
It's a stick shift. So it was all about teaching him how to drive. And I was like, absolutely, I can go ahead and do that. Emotions were on high. I committed to saying, you know what, I'll go ahead and drive down there. When's the next possible time? I felt good about helping out. And at that point, there was an emotional ease that was happening. And I said, you know what, let's go ahead and I'll drop down Friday night. I'll I'll be there Saturday so that we can go ahead and just use that whole day to teach him how to drive. Today is Saturday, by the way.
And he's not there.
And I'm not there. So I just wanted to bring that up. So what ended up happening, what I saw was, number one is I had to fix my mistake, because what ended up happening last night is that I started to think about it and second guessed.
Well, you also had committed to the project that you were doing being done on the 6th.
And I also had committed to a major project, by the way, complete like rebuild of software, not to mention that I have some huge software overhauls with WootRecruit. So there's about 3 different projects that I committed to with a deadline for those 2 projects, a deadline of January 6th, which is Monday. That's in 2 days.
And then he volunteers to take the car.
And I volunteered to take the car and say, we can spend Saturday, no problem, go ahead. I'll teach him how to do it. It's like, all right, great. He needs a car, and fantastic. I got the car cleaned up, tidied up, fixed, but I started to second guess myself. And I ended up calling my sister.
Well, it gave you anxiety.
It gave me anxiety.
Like extreme anxiety. Started to get nervous. Like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to get the projects done. I'm going to lose a whole day. But I'm like, dude, you did it to yourself. Libby's not. I'm just over here saying, I'm not going. I got work to do.
Yeah. But so what ended up happening is what I did not do before, what I didn't do the first time, was I didn't set proper expectations, or I didn't at least... I wasn't transparent with myself. I think that's what it comes back to, is I wasn't transparent with myself when I was first talking about it, because I was so concerned about riding on that feel-good moment of, I'm more than welcome to help out. I'm excited to help out because I don't often put myself out there to help family. Usually I'm I like to say the dark sheep. So I'm usually kind of that black sheep of not participating, not because I don't want to, but just because, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit scatterbrained, and I'm a guy, so it doesn't come natural to engage or seek out that connection. But that's something that I committed to doing, is creating that connection. And so I overcommitted because it wasn't something that was typical for me to do, was to engage, connect, and build relationships. And so what ended up happening is that I kind of overrode the natural flow of my brain. And I also have something that I live by now, and this also gets me into trouble in trying to fix it. But it's to never say no to an opportunity, or when somebody comes and asks me if I want something, I always say yes. I never say no, because that's me pulling back and hiding or avoiding a situation. And so I always lean into the situation now, but I need to fix myself to be able to self-correct and be transparent in making sure that it's actually realistic, and I don't have a level of confirmation bias, because again, I'm leaning into that emotional ease. I'm leaning into that situation with a positive attitude, but that gets me into trouble because it creates confirmation. I'm sorry, not confirmation. It's confidence bias.
I was wondering what you're talking about.
Yeah.
When you said confirmation bias.
So that's another bias, but yes.
So this is, and I'm sitting here watching Chris, and I didn't say a word. I did not say a word, and I knew what he was doing, and I knew he'd committed to deadlines. We're getting sell, convert, clean up. Like there's that deadline. There's meetings today for it on Saturday, and then he's doing a whole rebuild of WootRecruit for the data and the dashboard, and then he volunteers to do this, and I'm just kind of sitting back, and I didn't really say anything until last night. Like I try not to butt in until I start to see things affect other people.
Yeah. And by the way, Yaya also had a
Girl Scouts today.
Girl Scout. It was voluntary, but still I committed to it. And so that would have been at 9 a.m.
And yeah. And so, and as I saw Chris, the anxiety start to build, and he didn't know, and I said, why don't you just call and tell your sister, hey, man, I got some deadlines and I got some things, I can't do it.
So Michelle, if you're watching this,
she's asleep.
Yeah.
But this is the bad part about when we do this is that it chips away at our self-worth and our self-confidence. Every time we overcommit, right? That, oh my God, I want to say confirmation.
It's similar, but confidence
bias. Every time we do that and we're not real with ourselves, we lie to ourselves, we chip away at our self-confidence, our self-worth. It causes anxiety. It causes more stress than to just be real with your expectations, or, how confident are you in these things? I've learned this over the years, because I used to say yes to everything. It was one of my self-sabotaging tendencies that I've been working on for years. Finally, I'll say no to everybody and everything. No, I don't say no. But it's one of those things where you can see it in Chris. And I was like, dude, you just need to call her. It's not the end of the world, or change the deadline on the project, because then you're gonna feel defeated. And so we see that, people very confident in their answer, but then the delivery
falls
hard.
Yeah. So this was just one little drop in the pond of an example of what happened to me, myself personally, the last 3 weeks. Again, I can talk about a million different things just in terms of saying that I'm going to do something and failing on my expectations. I know that one of my biggest flaws is that I will not remember something that I say. And this is something that I repeat now obsessively through any conversation. If somebody needs me to remember something, I say, I'll tell you what, I will not remember anything we just said. So, if it's business, I say, let's go ahead and either schedule something, or I'm going to set an alarm or an event in my calendar to do X, Y, Z. So it's kind of setting the right expectations there, but I haven't really worked on that in my personal life. I haven't really leaned into that on my personal life, which is really clarifying and aligning with like time expectations, effort, all that good stuff. And so I have to make this a focus through the New Year's, make it a focus to work on my confidence bias, my overcommitting.
Well, it's a great topic because one of the biggest things that happens with the new year is new affirmations, resolutions, goals, and there is a ton of confidence bias in those things. Now, it's great to shoot for the stars. It's great to write 10x is easier than 2x. But we also have to be real with ourselves because we cannot keep like chipping away at that our confidence, because every time we don't do something, and 90% of New Year's resolutions fall flat before the end of January. This is my organizer side come in. Fall flat by the end of January. And so how does that make you feel? You feel defeated, right? It's kind of feels bad. You feel negative. You feel like a loser. At least I do when I don't do something. And so I love the big goals, but we can't set ourselves up to fail either.
Yeah.
With overcommitting, and then you underdeliver, right? I'd rather undercommit and overdeliver. But that's hard because we all want to help. We have this tendency to like be a fixer or a problem solver versus, the just overcommitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to kind of circle back, because what I wanted to figure out was for myself, how do I fix this for me? I know how to fix it for the companies, but how do I fix it for me when it comes to confidence bias? And I started to think about it. And I ran into a couple other situations, and this was not myself, but other people. And it was how I was interacting, again, on the 2 projects that I have deadlines for on Monday. 2 different situations, but there's an element of confidence bias that's happening with 2 different situations, also separate from myself. So I'm screwing myself over. They're screwing ourselves over. And I'm not saying this in like a fully negative way, but the example is it's this ripple effect, that butterfly effect of a confidence bias stacked on confidence bias, stacked on confidence bias, ends up getting you into a whole world of hurt if you're not careful.
Like, so we're working in a project with somebody, right? And they're overcommitting. We're overcommitting on this project. And then so maybe this feels like you guys in your office sometimes, like, oh yeah, okay, I'll get that done. Oh yeah, like I'll drop you a loom or I'll do this. And then at the end of the day, nobody did anything. And you're like, what the hell? And so go ahead.
So you go ahead, but I got some clues as to how to fix this, but you go first.
Well, no, I was just saying. And so we're working on a project with somebody, and everyone right now is frustrated. Like they're just frustrated. Yeah. And then I get involved, but yeah. And now there is clarity, or some,
but it's crazy.
And I don't like it because it's like, so how are the clues to fix it?
Yeah. So, it goes on with reading people, but it's catching the subtleties of the conversation. It's, for example, I had somebody in one of the companies that was doing the same thing. This is, again, third person. There's two other instances of confidence bias, but there's one other one I can explain to you is how I approached it. Is I knew what was going to come about if I asked a question or if I asked for help on a specific project. I knew that what I would get was the answer because they're very
willing to help. It's that servant mindset.
It's a fantastic thing to have for help. But the thing is that I knew what I was getting into. I knew exactly what kind of response was. If I said to myself, if I was this person, how would I respond? I knew exactly what was going to happen. And so before I asked a question on a specific project, what I ended up doing was saying, one is clarifying the details of what's currently happening or what's currently going on. I knew the workload. And so two different scenarios here, and I'll show you, I'll explain it. But number one was I could have just left it at, hey, can you help me with this project to do XYZ? By the way, it's a big project. Can I have you start on it now? What would have happened is, absolutely, let me clear up a few things first, and I'll jump right into it. By the way, it's 1 p.m. and I know that he leaves at 5 p.m. A big project, by the way. But back to what I was saying is I knew exactly what was going to happen. I saw throughout the day there was a steady trickle of requests that were coming in for this person. And some of those requests, I just happened to glance at them and I knew they were big requests. They were chunks of time. And so before I asked a question for help on my project, I set the stage to, one, lay out what I knew was there already for them. And then I asked for the opinion, not the request. And so I said, hey, I know you have a handful of requests currently that came in, and I wasn't sure if you had any available time. I'd love to know your thoughts. I know you have a couple of requests that came in, and I'd love to know your thoughts on if you feel, or what's your thoughts on if you feel you can get to this today.
That is way too vague. You asked for thoughts and feelings.
Well, I can't remember exactly what I said.
I'm just saying that's probably why nothing got done.
No. I set the expectation though. And you could probably help me out and we can clarify that better. What I wanted to at least say is that I leaned into getting their perspectives, not a yes or no answer.
Okay.
So I can't find the actual thing.
Keep with your story.
But he ended up replying back and like, you know what? I don't really have much time because there's a bunch of other requests. More than likely I won't be able to get to it. I said, okay, fantastic. That way, at least I know. And so I can shift over, move over, figure out either somebody else to do it or delay that piece of the project, which I ended up doing, which wasn't going to affect anything anyway. But at least I know and I don't fail on expectations and I don't get upset and I don't fracture that relationship. But if I would have just straight asked and said, hey, can you help me get this done? It would have been a yes, absolutely. And then I would have been upset later on and be like, why wasn't this done? Even though I knew that they had a bunch of work, and ended up creating friction and more than likely created a bad, let's say, employee experience and a bad employer experience. And what would end up happening is if this happened a couple times over the course of, let's say, a month or over the course of whatever, I can guarantee you that you would lose a great person if you didn't take into account confidence bias or didn't really set the stage or set the appropriate expectations.
Well, I think sometimes confidence bias is just, we get this all the time in interviewing, right? When you're interviewing applicants, we get this all the time with employees. We get it with our kids, is that they're telling you something that they think you want to hear, right? Like they think you want to hear, yes, I can do it. They think you want to hear, oh yeah, I'd love to clean. Like when you do an interview and everybody loves to freaking clean and they think you want to hear that as a response in an interview. And so confidence bias comes from also like they're telling you the thing that they think you want to hear. So if you're asking him, hey, can you do this project? Yes or no? Well, he's going to say yes without you asking for his opinion of does he have enough time? Because yes is what he thinks you want to hear.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm sorry, I was thinking of Zoolander when you said, like, do you think you thought what I thought?
Oh, yeah. So we're just talking about things that we saw come up with people overcommitting and under-delivering. And that's confidence bias. You're overcommitting and under-delivering because you're too cocky in your answer.
Yeah.
It's what you are. You're like, and we all do it. I do it. Chris does it, you know, and we're self-sabotaging, guys. It's a self-sabotaging tendency to almost be too cocky in the answer. Because if you fail or you don't meet it in time, you're chipping away at your self-confidence, your self-worth. And
same with other people too. If you don't.
Well, yeah, this is true with other people and even your kids, for Christ's sakes. So it's a real thing. And when you start to notice it, I need to be real with myself. I need to be real with expectations. It's exactly like when you're driving to somebody's house and they call you and they're like, how far away are you? And you're 50 miles away, but you say, oh, I'm only 5 minutes. And you try to drive faster.
That drives me insane.
You try to drive faster to get there because you were confident. You really didn't know how far away you were, but you just said 5 minutes because you thought that's what they wanted to hear. And you didn't mean to lie or overcommit or undercommit. I'm sorry. You didn't mean to overcommit. You didn't mean to lie, but you were confident in your answer of like, oh, I'm only 5 minutes away. I'll be right there. And then you look and you're like, shit, I'm 20 miles away. I'm not 5. But you were confident in your answer of 5 miles away.
Yeah.
It's exactly what confidence bias is. Like you're saying it and you don't even know that you're lying to yourself or to others.
Yeah. So by the way, I have a framework on this in terms of how it plays into customer success in your company. I can see if I can drop it in later.
Everybody liked that analogy. They're like guilty.
we can follow up on it later, but I have a kind of a framework that I use. It's about a 4-point framework for what to include in customer success or interactions. When you're talking that way, it removes confidence bias and it sets the right expectations so that you don't have friction points. But real quick, I want to correct myself on what I said to this person that I was trying to prevent from having.
By
this
the way, our
confidence
employees
bias.
all probably hate that we talk about them all the time.
There's probably 2 on here.
It's a disclaimer, and when you come to work for us, we will talk about our stories and our struggles and our wins and our successes publicly.
Part of our core values.
Yeah, it's part of our core values.
So what I said, I don't want to correct myself, is I said, hey, so-and-so, I see you have a handful of requests. Do you feel that you won't have time till Monday to start the next project? I know it's kind of like a weird way of saying it because I just rattled it in there and maybe there's a better way of saying it. but I set the tone to kind of lean into, do you think you're not going to have time to do this? And then they can come back and correct me and say, actually, no, you're wrong. I should have some time to take care of this. And so what they did was they came back and said, hey, Chris, thanks for checking in. Fortunately, no, I don't think I can wrap this up by today. So I was like, okay, just so I know, thank you.
But I also think that it comes from lack of clear expectations and communications.
Yeah.
Like one of the projects that we're doing, no one's getting anywhere with anything. It's just kind of like this volleying back and forth of communication. And maybe you feel like this in your weekly leadership meetings, or when you have a meeting and you're like, oh, well, what was that? Like, what was the point of that? There was no end. There was no takeaway or task. And so I feel like it's also in the way you communicated clearly, because you asked an end date, right? Versus in the other issue that we're having with the project, in a different project, everyone was very like vague and like, hey, when you have time, could you look at this for me? When I get involved, I'm very clear in the communication and the expectations. And like, if you don't have time for this, just let me know so I can find somebody else to do it.
Yeah, because the word, and I've learned this, unless there's a very unique personality, and I think there's probably actually 2 or 3 people in the companies that would commit to it. But the word whenever might as well be never.
Yeah, it's like when you're asking for do you know anybody that does blah, blah, blah? And you go think of nobody. Like you go to nobody. But there are a few words I hate with a passion, and it's if and should, whenever, maybe. They're the most loose words ever. And that's why maybe your office team is getting nothing done, because it's like whenever, could you, if, should, maybe.
And my trigger phrase is consider it done. If you say that to me, I will flip out.
But they're so loose. And instead of saying, hey, I need this done by Monday afternoon, if you can't do it, that's fine. Let me know and I'll get somebody else to do it. Or we'll figure something else out. Do you think you can handle it? Instead of saying, hey, when you have time, could you do this for me? And then you wonder why nothing ever gets done on time. Well, we didn't give them a time. So love the topic. We were talking about confidence bias, right? People just filling us full of crap, thinking that that's what we wanted to hear. So Chris's words were confidence bias. My word for it was filling me full of crap and telling me what you think I want to hear. That's our vocabulary levels. That's his vocabulary level. Confidence bias. I'm like, what does that even mean? And then I'm over here like, don't fill me full of crap and tell me what you think I want to hear. That's my vocabulary level. Chris is my hero. Yeah. He'll talk to me and I'm like, could you explain what that means? What does that word actually mean to you? Because sometimes the words, he uses big words and they mean different things to me. So I always ask him like, exactly what does that mean? What do you think that means? In what context are you using that? So yeah, my knowledge is more street knowledge and his is more book knowledge. So we make a good combination. But we've had a great time. We did our couples planning retreat, and if you didn't do a couples planning, like a session, I highly recommend you do one. You should have already done or going to do your business planning for your annual planning. But man, we have learned so much over the years. It's been crazy. And one of the things that we learned is, actually we've learned a lot. One of the things we learned is, I think this was a year of what we did wrong.
Yeah.
It's what we did wrong. And going over all the things that we did wrong kind of hurt for a minute. And you're like, well, that sucked. And we're calling them expensive experiences, bad hires, bad decisions, listening to the wrong people. Yeah. It's been a great year of reflection. And in our planning, that's why we decided to change a lot. But we're super excited because even though we did a lot of things wrong, we learned a lot.
Do you think that this is happening a lot with the overflow of coaching going on today? Telling people what they want to hear.
Full of crap? Yeah.
Oh my God, this is amazing topic because I have my own perspectives and
experience is a hard teacher.
I think in my perspective, absolutely, because I think there's something that just naturally happens, and it's that you're put in position of being the teacher. And I find this with myself, with my kids, is it used to be the questions are asked to the teacher, in this case, a coach, and you've already kind of put yourself in that mindset of, I have to deliver an answer. And so it's the confidence bias of being in the teacher mindset and just word vomiting or explaining, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but it happens. Explaining things regardless of whether you actually do or don't know the answer or the correct answer.
Or you read the answer in a book.
It's the what you see is all there is.
And you never applied it.
How should I run my payroll? And then immediately you're like, because you're trained, or you're thinking through and saying, I'm going to give them an answer because I'm the teacher right now. I'm going to tell them what I know. But what doesn't happen is, I think, that autocorrection of you know what, that's not my strong suit. I know that there's some great things in XYZ. I haven't yet explored it, but I would suggest starting there.
So I love this topic because I am a coach. I don't really call myself a coach, and I only do coaching for the CBF community exclusively right now. And I've been coaching for probably 5 years, almost 4 years, 4.5 years. I see all these coaches pop up in social media, like 20 years old, and I grew my cleaning business to $4,000 a month, and you can too. I'm like, well, good, that's great. But what could you have experienced for that kind of, what experience do you have to share? Come on. And so I think with the influx of very easy to scale software, very easy to scale. So this is what me and Chris are calling it. It's the new multi-level marketing scheme.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily coaches. It is the spin-off of selling stuff, because it's so easy to reproduce things like high level.
So I'm coining a new term. And it's not multi-level marketing, but it's multi-level monetization.
Multi-level monetization. And so now everyone's a coach, which is okay. That's nothing wrong with that to a certain extent. But I think for the longest time, it was hard for me to call myself a coach because I didn't feel I had experience. I didn't feel that I'd gone through enough things. And just recently in this year, I felt, okay, now I'm ready to coach and I'm ready to share. So first I took the approach of sharing before I am coaching publicly. But I think that they do tell you what you want to hear. And my thing with coaches are, if they're pursuing you for your business, I would think twice. Every coach I've ever hired, I pursued them. They were not you know how many times Gardone Ventures has called me this week? Yes. I don't even know how they got my phone number. So if they're pursuing me, I'm like, no, I need to pursue the coach that I want, because they have gone through something. They understand my industry. I like industry specific or category specific coaches. I don't like, one of the best quotes I ever heard was, got to be a specialist before you can be a generalist. And I do think that some of them fill you full of crap because they may not have gone through it. And like Chris said, they don't want to admit it, because as a coach, you're supposed to be the expert. Yeah.
But I think that's honestly why you have a lot of respect for JP.
Oh yeah. So I've had great coaches like Jonathan Potashnik in Service Autopilot. I pursued him. He owned a home service company and a software. That's what I own. And when I pursued him, I pursued him as a coach.
Sought him out.
I sought him out. And I loved his coaching style. Debbie Sardone. I sought her out. I have a cleaning company. I needed help. She was the best in the industry. Dan Martell, he's a software coach. When I was crying because I didn't know what I was doing and I was up all night trying to figure it out, I found him looking because he had my answer. I pursued them. And so I think those types of coaches that are putting out content and really helping and have that thought leader mindset and that servant mindset aren't the ones that are full of crap, because I'll tell you right now, those three that I just listed will put you in your place in 5 seconds.
Yeah. And so I want to share one thing that I think all of them had in common. And this is, Jeremy, back to what you were saying in terms of that abundance of coaching or that information bias, the confidence bias, is what they did, like Dan Martell and Jonathan Potashnik and a few others, is what they ended up doing was they ended up sharing knowledge openly, as opposed to keeping it behind the gate of only sharing the what and the why, very surface level. And so when you have somebody let's say an industry coach of some sort that you don't know of, and they haven't really developed rapport, they haven't really developed or shared openly things, then it gets really hard, because there's no context to how they can help, but they're seeking you out and asking for your money. But they haven't yet proven themselves. They haven't delivered something openly without asking for money in return. It's the jab, 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 right hook.
Yeah. Coaching is a relationship, and it is. I just did a call with somebody yesterday, a CBF member that was, she was interviewing all the coaches, and I told her, I said, it's a relationship. We're going to get personal. I had a coaching call this morning, and I made him cry. I was like, it's a good coaching call when they leave, when you make somebody cry on the call. I'm joking. It was a great call. But it's a relationship. And if they're trying to convince you to get in the relationship with you, it's probably one-sided. So now having 2 softwares, writing the book, we're launching the Louis DeLucian brand. A lot of people have asked me, why do you still keep your cleaning company? And I'm like, because that is the thing that grounds me. That is the foundation of all of my knowledge in all of my companies. Without that, I'm just giving random advice. I'm not current to what's actually happening. And so I do like that. And actually, all of the coaches that I mentioned still owned or own their business, their original business. Like JP still owns his lawn care company. He sold the software, but he got out of coaching when he did. Debbie still owns her cleaning company. Dan Martell still owns softwares. And so that's a great point, is that they're still in it. And so I think the content is more relevant. And I'm not disregarding all coaches, but we do see an influx of especially young people spinning up and saying like, I'm a business coach. And I love the hustle and the talent. Or not the talent, but I love the hustle and the pursue.
It's just the problem is that the platform has become so accessible that people try to step in it without, I guess, the proof behind.
Yeah, and I think social media and technology has what's caused that, which is a great thing, like social media and technology. But now, like with my service area too, I can only service the area, but with software and coaching, I can service the world. So it is more exponential.
Yeah.
In that way, when you're thinking about it. Yeah, it grounds me. My cleaning company grounds me. And here's the other thing. The way I think about this is the way as fast as technology is moving, as fast as the coaches are popping up, as fast as AI, because, there's that whole talk of like AI going to make coaches obsolete, which is not true because coaching is a relationship. We could always get the answer even on Google. Is that as fast as coaches pop up and technology moves, I will never sell my cleaning company because that skilled trade, it's going to be a very long time before my customers can afford the robot to do that skilled trade.
Effectively.
Effectively. So that is the safety net. That is like what we're keeping, and we know that it's always going to be there.
Yeah, but Maria AI, the Organize It bot, will be there 2026.
Yes. So yeah, I think it's an interesting topic and don't get me wrong, I own a software. I got high level accounts with Sell, Convert, Clean. Watch out, because what we're going to do when we launch it is we're going to give you, what did we call it? The sequence?
Oh gosh.
We renamed it and I can't remember it.
Yeah, don't put me on the spot like that.
But we're going to give you a high level account with a whole short-term marketing close funnel that's over like a drip of 30 days. Anyways, so I'm doing the same thing when it comes to, people in the industry moving to tech. But I also think the reason a lot of us do it is we work so hard to create the process in the system. If it helps other people, why not help them?
Yeah, but if it helps us and it can help other people, absolutely.
Yes.
Instead of just selling something because it's there.
Yeah. So great conversation. Coaching is one of those things. I love it though. Like I was kind of shy of calling myself that. And I rarely call myself a coach because I think it's an overused word. It's overused. And it's also why, like, this is a whole nother topic. I don't really believe in marriage, and never got married till I married Chris when I was 32, I think. And the reason I've always thought that way is because it was an overused word, right? So many people I knew abused it.
Yeah.
It was infidelity. They weren't true to their partners. Divorce was so common. And so I didn't like the word. So it was a dirty word to me, like marriage. And so it's like for a long time coaching, because you hear of bad coaches that take advantage of people and deliver no results. But there's great ones too. It's finding that great relationship.
Yeah. And I think I polarized that idea also, is that I thought the exact same thing, but I polarized it to where I wanted to make it valuable again, make it mean something. And so for me, I committed to that idea for me, marriage means a lot. Even though I know that, and again, my parents were divorced pretty early. So I grew up in a fractured home.
And it's weird because I did not. My parents are still married.
Yeah.
But I still didn't believe in marriage.
Yeah. And again, me being on the road touring I saw so many people sleep with random girls, bringing on the bus and stuff like that. So I've seen it not work to the fullest degree, but I still, again, it's something that's really important to me. And that idea of a solid marriage is extremely important. So I don't care if you do or don't believe in
I don't
marriage.
believe in the word marriage.
Yeah.
So I'm the most committed person in the world.
Yeah.
To a fault. It's actually one of my self-sabotaging tendencies, but I don't have to get married to commit to someone.
Yes.
So I just said I was using it as a reference for coaching. Like I think sometimes it's depending because of the circumstances you were put in or what happened to you in the past, you feel like it's a dirty word.
Yeah.
Right? Because the word itself doesn't hold much weight because it's so abused, the word. And so I think it's a great topic. I do think coaching is extremely important. Like I have 4 coaches right now, but again, I think there's a difference. Like if you're pursuing them, are they still in the industry? Are they industry specific? Great example is I had a coach and he was a great guy. Like I loved him. He was great. Man, he could talk and his words were so powerful, but he never owned a home service company. And so I kind of said something to Chris. I was like, well, this guy, I could like him as much as I want, but he's just a good talker. Like, none of these strategies have been put into, he's never tried them. And so I think that's the thing we got to watch is what are we looking for in a coach? Because I do think, here's the other thing I think why a lot of coaches do this. It's hard to sell coaching. It's not easy because it's a relationship. And so I think that's sometimes why they overpromise and maybe underdeliver, or they oversell a little bit, because it's the thing too, if you see a lot of home service people going this way, they might come back. Coaching is hard. It's easy because it's exponential in that way. Like, oh, I can service anyone all over the world. But it's hard because with modern technology now, you can't be a shitty person and expect people not to know. News travels like the speed of light. The guy who copied my software, I posted that post online. Oh my God, I hope you're watching right now. Whoever you are, you know who you are. Dude, with modern technology now, I posted that and everybody private messaged me, every software owner, everybody in the cleaning industry. They're like, who was it? Who was it? Who was it? And then, you can't do crummy things and then expect people not to know. So I also think not that people are all bad, but it's so hard to build a great reputation, and you have to be open and transparent to be a great coach. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. And that's what sells. Like, I did a live last night in the cleaning community, and I apologize. I got a little too deep with my story. And it was funny because they're just like, no, that's what sells.
Is he talking about the same Caleb that the commercial industry?
But news travels fast. And so I think that's why coaching is hard. You have to be transparent. You have to decide, hey, if I'm going to be a coach, I got to talk about the pain. I got to talk about my mistakes, my struggles. And if it's all raw, people see right through that. Yeah,
and I think the checkpoint for yourself or whoever, and I'm sure you already have this or catch this, is
all the coaches, by the way, are going to hate me after this episode.
Is making sure that the person that you're looking up to, or even that you're, again, the 5 people you associate with the most, your circle, whoever, is that make sure that they are whatever part of your life or whatever part of business is that they have successfully done, not done, but successfully done what you want to seek out or where you want to be in the future.
Yes, I will not hire a coach if they're not where I want to be. They cannot
successfully.
Because
there's a difference. Is they may have been there, but they're now coaching because they failed. Now they're still teaching.
But they sold 5 businesses.
Right.
They didn't say they failed at all 5.
Right. But I think that's the checkpoint, is just making sure that whoever you are seeking out or paying close attention to, I say this is not that you're seeking out or they're not a legitimate coach, but maybe it's somebody who influences you. When we talked about this before with your inner circles, who you associate with the most, is making sure that whoever you're paying attention to has successfully been where you want to go. I want to put that out there.
Yeah. And so, but I do think it's just something to watch. You'd be surprised in the cleaning industry, in residential space, how many people get taken advantage of by not the greatest ethical coaches, like giving bad advice and taking their money and not helping them with accountability of growth and holding them accountable. It's a common trend. And some of the advice like people come in with, I'm like, who told you that? Like, that's horrible. It's also illegal.
Oh my goodness.
And they're like, oh, coach. And I'm like, oh my God. And so, it's just watching who we're taking advice from and finding that person, like I said. And here's the thing. If it's cheap, you get what you pay for. It's not cheap. Somebody asked me the other day about like Dan Martell's course because they were thinking about joining it. And I'm like, that's weird. And I was like, he has a course where it's like $3,000 or $6,000 and he teaches to the masses, thousands and thousands of people. And I'm like, oh, that's because they thought it was the same thing I was in. I was like, oh, that's a different one. He has several. So also make sure you know what you're buying when you sign up for certain things will help in clarity. And, do I get one-on-one time? Do you want one-on-one? A lot of coaches don't even do one-on-one anymore. And I also think that with this whole like home service people leaving and coaching, they're not really coaching. They're just producing modules and selling them online. And so knowing, am I buying a course or am I buying your time? Is a great question to ask when you're signing up for a coach, because the value in the coach is getting time, whether it's in a group setting, right? A group setting's fine. Or am I just getting access to like online modules? Because then there's no accountability in that. 99% of people don't finish the modules.
Yeah.
Like if there's no FaceTime with the coach or group setting. And so that's the other thing and I think it goes back to tech. It makes it so easy now. I was following this girl locally here in Fort Myers, and she is freaking TikTok famous, and she's a solo cleaner, and she's selling her cleaning company. And I'm like, why is she selling her cleaning company? So anyways, I messaged her because I want to buy it, and I want to buy her TikTok. But she does all these tutorial videos, and she goes, and she told me, she goes, I'm selling it because I make more money selling my templates on Etsy. And I go to her at Etsy and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I told Chris, I'm like, I got all of this. I could sell all this stuff on Etsy, and I'm like, but we don't. And so that's also why you see people leaving like home service. They're finding out that the system they made, the checklist they made, she's selling this cleaning checklist to thousands of people on Etsy for $3, like for one checklist. And then like another thing for a business card template for $2 on Canva. And I'm like, I looked at Chris and I'm like, I didn't even know this was a market.
But she's got a following, and compared to what she was doing before, I think for her that situation worked out great because I did like simple math.
Yeah.
Math.
And I'm like, holy crap, she sold this to a lot of cleaning companies. And her ICP is...
I was going to say cleaning companies, and it's.
Yeah, her ICP solopreneurs in the field. But I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing. And I was like, so I want to buy it from her. And I was like, why are you selling a cleaning company? She's moving out of state. And I was like, and she's like, anyways, I make more money. I was like, and then we wonder why people are leaving the home service industry. Technology has made it easy for us to make money doing other things as well. But then that caps out sometimes too. But long story short, with the coaches are they can change your business. Like Dan Martell changed my life. Debbie Sardone changed my life. John Potashnik changed my life. And there are great coaches out there. You just got to watch who you're signing up for and make sure that you're pursuing them based off of their pain, their struggle, and what they're doing versus them pursuing you.
And maybe there is, again, a platform for them to be coaching. It's just a matter of who is their target audience and are they selling above that level? Again, confidence bias.
They're confident.
Yeah. And so they're overselling or over-delivering or under-delivering to those that are above that threshold. But maybe the solopreneurs would be great for them in terms of coaching. But again, it's all about confidence bias and just aligning on those expectations. Or in this case, if they are advertising, making sure that they niche down and really lean into who's the right fit and who is absolutely not the right fit.
Yeah. And I also think, like, back to my quote earlier, you guys might have missed it, is how many times do we get a phone call from like a marketing company? I can get you #1 on Google, or let me do your SEO. Don't you love the emails that said, oh, I saw your website and it needs help? My reply is like, well, I made it so you can screw off. Thanks for the insult. So most of the time we watch that, but we want to be attracted through awareness marketing, content marketing, through gives and shares, and just, watch who's pursuing that. But again, I always go to you have to be a specialist before you can be a generalist. Whether you're a coach, whether you own a software, whether you want to launch a company, whether you want to launch marketing, you got to be a specialist before you can be a generalist. And that was a Dan Martell quote. And that's what he did. He specialized only in SaaS companies. That's where we met him. That's how I met him, because I needed help. And I watched this guy go from like just specializing in SaaS to freaking like being the generalist, gonna take down Tony Robbins kind of guy. Not take him down, but like outgrow him. It was a very interesting journey to watch happen, and it is 100% true. So that's why I like specialists when it comes to the coaches we choose and some of the stuff we look at. And then you can be a generalist. Then you can go for those bigger opportunities and hit larger markets.
Yeah.
So if, like I said, some coaches are going to hate me who watch this. And if you do, then you might be one of the ones we're talking about. And if you don't, then you're going to be the ones that we're talking about. We're the great ones. And it's hard because, it's just hard. You rise and fall to the level of your leader. And to me, my coaches are leading me, and then I lead the company.
So moral of the story is you just got to put the reps in. You got to get the experience in, share, give until you've proven yourself to somebody else openly, and then it'll start to line up.
Yep. So we'll wrap up. We're rebuilding a ton of stuff, like a ton. And by far the biggest project that I've done is tearing down the actual company. All of them.
Oh, it's been amazing.
Reassessing, like, why is stuff just not feel that great? Like, why does it feel like it's not working? And again, I talked to my coach and he's like, no, you have a clear understanding of EOS. Like, for God's sakes, you've hired an EOS implementer, a fractional integrator. I've been running on it for 4 years, 3 years. And I'm like, he goes, And he's the one who said this to me. It does not fit your leadership style. It's too slow, Libby.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I never thought that could be a thing.
You're right. Like, no wonder I feel like it's agonizingly slow. Like, I was like, huh. And so I've done some studying for all my software people. Like, we were looking at agile. So we're running a modification. Like, taking what we like from EOS. The book that I've written has processes in it that we were already using that we didn't even realize. Like,
but we kind of,
no, like we didn't realize that it fits over here better this way when we were trying to like modify EOS and some parts of it. And so we are creating the LD framework.
And I was going to say, I guess we didn't know, is that you're allowed to kind of have things work or flow a different way than just what the book says. So that's where things started to evolve.
Yeah, it started to evolve. So I'm super excited. Once I get it rolled out, I'm going to share it with everybody, but it's meeting cadences. We're using cadence calendars. How is the company communicating? How will meetings run? Who's in what meetings? Also, the level of expectation from each one. What scorecards are we using? Because I think we overcomplicate all of it. We're just tracking 4 numbers. That is it. Give me 4 numbers. Each department is responsible for tracking any number they want, but I don't want to know about it to get me to the 4 numbers. It's also for all my owners out there. If you think that you're sitting in too many meetings, or like, are the meetings slow? Am I not getting what I want out of the meetings? You're probably not running the right system in your business. And that's what I felt like. Stuff was too slow. We didn't have a great feeling to the outcomes of each meeting, like rating it 1 through 10. Who the hell cares if it was a 1 through 10? I care if we have a takeaway. I care if we have a clear expectation of this is what we're doing. So really like aligning on that. And I don't know. It was so freeing to say like, we're done. We're implementing our own. And we've already made so many modifications that it was kind of our own, but we didn't ever really sit down to document it.
Yeah. And I will say that my biggest passion, my fire, what basically my superpower of what keeps me energized and I can do forever it's the concept of breaking something down and putting it back together better than the way it was before. And that's exactly what we're doing here through this overhaul of the company structure, through the overhaul with the LD framework. It's honestly, for me, it fires me up and it's really exciting. And the same thing with all these deadlines and projects is the concept of breaking something down and putting it back together better than the way it was before.
We're not servicing outside companies.
Yeah.
Because we also were doing things way more complicated than they needed to be because we had independent people in each company. And so what we've done is we've broken up the companies. We're looking at the org chart. We actually restructured the company entities, all work now for Libby DeLucian LLC. And it's helping us diversify the money and the tools and streamline communication. And it's been great. Our employees are they're like, what is she doing? She's changing everything. I've like taken away access. We're cleaning things up. And they're like, what is she doing?
So the comment you made in the chats for the company was, if you've noticed that you've been removed from like the shared drive, don't worry, you're not fired.
Yeah. I removed access from Google Drive from everybody while I was cleaning it up because I did a training on how to clean your Google Drive and I clean it every year. It's also why I did a training, but I clean mine every end of year, but I removed access. So I dropped in the chat, if your access was removed from something like Google Drive, don't worry, you're not fired. And so many people were like, oh my God, thank you. Like I was getting nervous. I didn't know what you were doing. So it's funny, but in remaking these, man, I've learned so much about my leadership and communication style. Like bad and good. And like I said, if you're an owner and you feel frustrated and you feel like your business is slow and the meetings are slow and people are not doing certain things or doing a rocks and projects, and you're not getting things done on the quarterly like you're supposed to, check your operating system. It probably does not align with your leadership style, not your leadership team, your leadership style. The owner. So the book is an operating system to help you create those perfect micro playbooks in your company. Super excited. We're still in the writing process, but it's what we use and organize it. It's what we use in WootRecruit, and it's great.